Welcome to another exploration into consciousness with the Earth Nouveau Hub. Great to have you here on a new moon. So thanks for making the effort. And we were just talking to Jen about having changed jobs. And she's also done a lovely mushroom journey. So why don't you just kick us off with that? And then we see where the psychedelic journey takes us.
Yeah, so the mushroom journey, it was with a local shaman. So I was local to town. We got started Friday evening, this past Friday evening, and it was an overnight experience to make us stay the night. And I had not done anything like that before, so this was my first time going into it. There were 10 of us there, including the two facilitators. I went with two of my girlfriends, and the other people that were there we didn't know. And so they have you fast for the day. Do you want me to like go detail, or do you want to do like high level?
Go in with the details. Yeah, for
Yeah.
anyone who's interested in that. And it's new moon as well. So it's all good to have a chat about that. Go for it.
Yeah, new moon eclipse. There's all kinds of stuff going on. So they have you fast beforehand, and then like we got there around 3:30 for everybody to get familiar with each other and learn the ropes and figure out where to be. And they have like their whole downstairs set up with like couches and chairs and mattress pads and stuff like that for people to like lay on in a group, and because people have to stay the night. And then upstairs they have a quiet room with a couch and a couple chairs and a mattress and a fireplace, and then another mattress in the dining room for people to hang out on. Then you can go outside. So beautiful house, really lovely people that run it. um Not everybody's on the same level of awareness or has the same spiritual hygiene practices and things like that kind of became evident over the night. But I'd say around 5 o'clock is when we did like a group centering and protection and creating your container, all the things that they have set up. I would use different words for my practice, but same kind of things. And then they pass out the sacrament. And for me, like I don't metabolize medicine in the normal way. Like I can see trails taking Dayquil. I can't take a lot of medicine. My body just doesn't process it right. But he gave me like a small dose of the psilocybin to begin with, and the only thing that I noticed from that was that light would track a little bit differently for me. Like lights would pass in front of my face, but then they would stop, and then they would keep on, like the little starry night machines that they had projecting on the wall and stuff like that. But I didn't like the noise, and I didn't like being in so many other people's energy. So I went up to the quiet room, and he came up and asked me what I was feeling, and it wasn't much at all at the time. So he gave me another dose of the psilocybin, and he left me for a little while. And I still, about 30, 45 minutes later, really wasn't noticing anything different other than my body was feeling more relaxed. But I laid down on the mattress and just kind of laid in front of the fire. I really wanted to be close to the fire. And one of the other ladies from downstairs came up and sat on the couch behind me. And as soon as her energy field touched mine, whatever he had given her, I picked up on. I dropped right into it. So the first thing I noticed was that the little blue lights weren't little blue lights anymore. They were big blue lights, and they had a pattern in them, and they came to the foreground, and like the aura swirls went to the background. And as I watched them separate, I could see through the dimensions. Like I could see a lot with my physical eyes. Normally I see with my psychic eye. And so it was really interesting to see more with my physical eyes. And then as soon as the dimensions opened up, I just started asking questions. So, like Andrew's told me that I'm an oversoul. So my first question was, well, what's an oversoul? And I was shown like a mothership. And not that I was on the mothership, but that I am the mothership. And I could see like the souls coming in and out of there and orchestrating what those experiences would be like. It was like watching a sci-fi movie. And as the layers kept unfolding in front of me, what I really got out of it was such a deep appreciation for what it means to be in a physical body and what a gift it is to be in a physical body. So many people go on about how they want this to be their last life on earth and how hard it is to be in a body. And while there's truth in that, I mean, there are challenges, but where all the beauty and the joy and the pleasure that a soul can feel is happening in the body. When we're outside of the body, while you have that universal oneness, that collective unity, it is more of a knowing than it is a feeling. And I think in the body, we have so much more of an expression out of the heart space than in the knowingness. So I found it interesting that I go into this experience with spirit, and what I really come out of it is just such a deep love for my body. But during the process, I received like amazing physical health, healing, and upgrades. And I could see it on a cellular level taking place inside my body. And what I was told was that I was being readied for a very, very long lifetime, which I know I'm going to live a long time in this body. And so it was more of an adjustment to my skin suit to ready me for a very long lifetime. I had a lot of old relationships that came forward for me to look at and then got pushed way to the back. And then as I thought about things that I wanted to create in my new lifetime, I saw like myself get magnetized, and everything I could think of that I wanted just got like drawn into me, like I was the most powerful magnet in the world. And I got shown what a powerful creator that I am. It was just completely different. I didn't go in with any kind of expectation. I didn't go in with any kind of intention. The only thing I said was that I feel like I stay generally very connected with spirit, and that I can see a lot of things already. And so I just wanted to see how much more I could open up. I just wanted to see what I could see. I thought it was amazing. It was important to me to stay by the fire because there was so much other energy moving in the house that was not anything that I would want to entangle with, that like the fire kept that away from me. And in fact, like for people that don't know how to clear their shit, like I had to create a portal to move that out of the house, just to clear it out of the house, because like watching that was too much for me. It was too much background noise. But I was also amazed at how many things my brain could keep up with at one time, or my spirit could. Like I was in many places at once.
Amazing. Beautiful. And you know what you're saying is also something that I can confirm with my few psychedelic experiences that I've had with San Pedro or ayahuasca. I felt more grounded than ever.
Yes.
I didn't understand at all. I was so confused the first time in LA. I was like, what the hell? I'm so grounded. Everyone was off doing whatever they were doing. And I was like, okay, water, you need water, blah, blah, blah. That totally grounded. So lots of people, think it just depends. It depends. But why do you think that is the experience that it was for you? And it might be next to me, the mushrooms might be completely different. Do you have an idea why that happened for you, that you were more grounded?
I think for me, because I stay in between the realms all the time, I like when I want to read the records, I don't have to do any kind of opening or intention. I just think back into them. When I want to ask my higher self something, I just think up. Like I hold myself in between the realms in general. Not well, it's just innate in how I operate now, right? And so I think what I hadn't been focusing on as much was the physical body and holding my physical vessel in the shape that it needs to be to hold the vibration that I am now, and to prepare for holding it for a very long time. And so that is what I needed at the time. But I also am generally a very grounded person. Also, staying by the fire, I think, helped keep me grounded, because the fire, helps hold in the physical plane. My physical body got so relaxed in a way that I haven't felt that relaxed in a long time, especially the last months trying to, I gave a 3-week notice to my old job, and I had a lot of work that I was trying to process to put them in a good place so that whoever came in behind me could just pick it up and go from that day instead of having to like a lot of that stuff stays a month or two in arrears. And so like I wanted it to be current for them. And then I had the art expo and I had all these things that I was getting ready to jump into. So I had a lot of tension around me and all that went away. Even today, it's been what, 5-6 days. My physical body is still exceptionally relaxed. I felt my crown really open, but the way I felt that open was by heat. I felt my heart really open in the back, and the way I felt that was by heat. And my body was very hot, but it wasn't like uncomfortable and sweaty. I had a blanket on. I was in front of the fire. Like none of that was too much heat. My body really enjoyed the heat. And I think that part also helped keep me grounded.
Yeah. I mean, that kind of heat sounds to me the rising of the life force energy, or the, the allowance by you letting go, allowing that, which is truly sexual energy. That sexual energy, which is that life force energy that is allowed to, come into the body as you hold more light, as you allow yourself to expand out and go into your feminine, basically, because this is what lots of people, that can create is a masculine thing, and it is, but without the expansion or the rest or the pause that Mary mentioned last time, the opposing creation and expansion are part of the same thing. It's part of the creation, and that needs to be allowed. Otherwise, you get out of harmony, and that's what stresses the body. If you're just in creator mode, you're just in your male energy continuously, and you're not allowing that. So this is a beautiful experience.
It really was. And I felt too that one thing I've intentionally focused on the last several months is non-resistance, like completely being in non-resistance to whatever crossed in front of me. And that I think really helped in my journey, because I had no fear, I had no apprehension, no resistance. The only thing that I looked back at was the noise going on downstairs with that group, because like it was really primal, and whatever I was hearing, I'm sure is not what actually was the noise in the room, but the energy of it was just, I didn't like it, but I didn't resist it. I just opened a portal to move it so that it wasn't noise for me anymore.
Yeah, and I mean, that's the advanced soul. The advanced soul doesn't stay in that kind of environment if it's not contributory to your journey. So there's no judgment in any of that.
Right.
But that's the thing when you go to these places, and it doesn't matter. Lots of people, they've done lots of journeys and they've done lots of mastery work, and they're still going into this weird sort of space. And the best thing, like you did, you just remove yourself from that, because I mean, that's your journey.
Yeah.
So that's the most mature and responsible thing to do, to be honest. I want to bring in Mary here, because I know Mary is one of those people as well, where when you do medicine, you go into the grounding space, right?
I do. And an awful lot of what Jennifer was saying there, I could resonate with it. And when you asked her, why she had the experience that she had, what I felt about it for me was, it felt for me like it was everything had come together. Several levels or several dimensions had come together, but it wasn't that I hadn't known them before. It was like a big exhale of the breath, and I had somehow just merged with something, and it was just fabulous. And it didn't feel as if I was floating at all. I too, Jennifer, had an experience of a lot of lights, and it wouldn't be that I wouldn't be aware of that really in my normal everyday life, but I just wouldn't be looking for it or see it. But I was surrounded by an awful lot of lights. But it was a lovely experience, I have to say, and it was very, very grounding, and it was very complete. I felt very complete in it. And I wanted to go back to it because I thought, that's kind of missing. And I was just, kind of aware of, like, and I know I've often said on when I'm on here that I'm always aware that I'm walking many levels at the same time, as we all are. It's not just me. But I was aware that I wanted to be more aware of that as I went forward. And I think I am. I don't think I have to think about it. I think that stayed with me. And I think there's something about that experience that won't ever leave me. Just that conscious merging with something that I still carry. So it was a good experience, and yours was too, and it was lovely to hear you describe it. There was a lot of people around us, Martina, too, when we had ours, but I kind of didn't notice much, I think, about what was around. When you mentioned the fire, I remember the fire, and the fire was huge. And I remember the flames had taken on a life of their own for me. There was a lot happening in the fire that I could sit and look at a fire. I love fires, and I love the way that the flames dance. But there was so much more happening. And again, I felt that kind of merging with the fire, with the flames, with that energy. And I didn't feel like I was separate from it. I felt I could almost influence it a little bit, by how I'd look at it or how I'd feel or whatever. So really, that's my experience.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like how you say merging. I didn't say this, but so there's a 22nd dimensional dragon that has shown up for me here and there about the last year, and it's an aspect of me. It's another form of that I take. And she came in and she merged with me like spine to spine, and I felt that ripple through my dimensions. But that was a very literal merging that I felt in that space. Mm-hmm. And I was, the shaman had come up after my second dose, right after whatever I picked up from Susan's energy field was all I needed to go from where I was to where I was supposed to go. And he came in to give me the sacrament that would connect me with spirit. And I instantly was told, like, no, any more would overwhelm you. You don't need any more. You're already where you need to be. And I kind of had that question afterward, like, well, what would have happened if I had taken it? Because like maybe I would have had even more of an experience, but I think I did exactly what I needed to do in that moment. And when I was coming down from it, when I was like fully back in my body, very like with no outside perceptions, like I was done with the experience. I mean, I would absolutely do it again, but like, I don't know. I knew I had ridden whatever wave I came there to ride, and I was ready to get up and like ground back in the road and go outside and like just be happy to be in my body.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that shows what caliber you are, because we've had those experiences in my second journey in Mexico, because there were people said, oh, come on, I came all this way, I paid all this money, so I'm just gonna make the most of it. And those were the people that literally, I'm not saying they didn't have a good journey, but they had a quite turmoil, chaotic journey with lots and lots of throwing up and this and that, and that was still good because that's what they expected. They wanted that. But then there were other people, and even myself, they were just saying exactly the same, no, that's fine. Second time, because we did it for a couple of days, second time, no, I just take that little, and it was over when it was over, and that was enough. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like that too. I didn't want to take too much. I wasn't looking for something amazing kind of, or some, I don't know what I was looking for, but I wasn't looking for a huge experience, but I had it from the little that I took, and it was enough as well. I didn't wonder what it would be like if I had more, because I just didn't want more at that time. It was enough.
I think, you know, I mean, from what I'm hearing from you two ladies and also my experience, I think when I say I was merging with something, I wouldn't, for me, it was almost like an unfolding of who I actually am.
Mm.
And the first time around, I was like, because I didn't understand the whole thing. It took me some time to go through this, what I was actually doing and why I felt so grounded, and you know, and things like that. And then because it's like when that realization that when you take psychedelics and you come completely grounded, it's something about who you are, you know, in a certain way, because it wasn't like, oh, a release of all the old, you know, and all that kind of stuff. It was really a realization of who I actually am. And that doesn't even need a definition, you know,
Yeah.
like you guys are saying. It was just like, and also it just completely made me question the way we define grounding.
Yeah, that's true,
I mean,
Martina.
I
Yeah,
never
I
like,
was even thinking, you know, I felt grounded on so many levels, you know, not just on the earth plane. I felt grounded in all the other places that I merged with or that I blended with or whatever. But I do get that feeling too, very much of it. This is just me. This is who I am. Wow. You know, there was that sense
yeah.
of enjoyment about it or something. It's very hard to find words to describe that bit.
I'd call it clarity now. For me, that's the only
Mm.
word I can think of. A sort of a
Yeah,
clarity, a black and whiteness, a
yeah.
knowingness that doesn't have a feeling to it. It
Mm.
doesn't have an emotion to it. It's just a knowingness. It is what it is. And it's almost like, it's not like, it's like that,
Yeah,
you know? Um,
yeah.
so beautiful. Oh, thanks for sharing that, Jen. Beautiful.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you very much for sharing it, because I in my it actually fortifies me in actually trying, you know, mushrooms at one stage or another. So in my youth I have experimented with a few, you know, didn't we all go through a drug phase at one stage or another? But I vividly remember my first time that I took LSD, which actually left me sitting. It was in a safe environment. It was not in a completely hectic environment or whatever. It was in a safe environment with friends that I knew, and we were sitting in the living room, and we just wanted to go and on a trip, right? And the guys, they were going on that trip. I was literally sitting in front of a huge black hole. Okay, and up to this day, I have no idea what I was looking at. I was just sitting there and I was looking and staring down a very deep black hole. And I was like, okay, well, if it's that, I don't need to take any drugs, because honestly, you know, this is I can just, you know, sit in front of a big black hole. Nowadays, I'm like more in a sense, because of the journey that I have done through the self well, not improvement, but you know, getting on a higher frequency. I literally, because also when I'm doing meditation, I'm in the dark, and I just came to embrace that. I'm like, this is where I'm probably, you know, just feel the most comfortable in, and where I should be tripping, you know, in the dark, which is fine. It was just so amazing, and I even spoke with Martina about it when I was visiting her, because we went through this whole week that we went together, also on different journeys in a sense. And I actually told her this story about the drugs and the LSD, and I have never then since. There's just one drug that I really love, which is cocaine, which I'm not using currently, but I did in the past, because it just brings this fuck yeah bitch out, you know, that one. But for the rest, I'm done with it. You know, even smoking weed, I'm like, you know, the only thing that I have is a bloody smile plastered on my face, and I'm raiding the fridge, and I'm like, no way, you know, so I don't need to go there. Which is also why I have never really then hooked up on taking an invitation to take mushrooms. I could have, honestly, but I'm like, okay, if it's just sitting in front of the big black hole again, no way, you know, what for? In nowadays, I would probably just like, okay, let's see where we are. Let's see where we are going with this. And I was where I also wanted to because both of you were talking about the lights, and actually during the retreat that we had with Martina, where I then told her, oh, I just know now that I'm from Andromeda, is that because at that moment, okay, we were sitting in a circle, they were talking about whatever, and I felt like I was at the steering of a ship, and it was a U shape, you know, a U shape, but I was sitting at the end of the U, so the open space was in front of me, with a lot of light coming in, and all the entities that were around me, actually, you know, their heads were like going light, you know, like we were all moving the ship together forward. And I felt like I was in the middle then of the end of the U, and I had, okay, everything going through me. And I was constantly in my background of my mind, I was like, okay, so where are we now? And then at that moment, because we were holding hands in that circle, Martina actually dropped her hand. And I was like, and it was at the moment when I said Andromeda. And I was like, okay, that's right. And everything clicked into place somehow, which was really amazing. And I was like, okay, very good. And since we also did now this template and the coding, every morning now I stand for like 30 seconds and look into the sun. I have my eyes closed, but I look consciously into the sun and I say hello. And I have the feeling, and I have noticed that already for a couple of days now, that at one stage I have a very clear image of a geometric, of like the sacred geometry, like one image very clearly that is, you know, like a pulse. And it just remains for a millisecond and then it's gone again. So I'm like, okay, there's something that is coming through. So I'm you know, embracing the light as well, in a sense, to see, you know, where we're going with this. But I really could find myself in everything that you were saying here. So yeah, thank you for sharing. Excellent.
Yeah, thank you for saying that, because that just confirms that, you know, when we do these journeys, this is not something a must in order to figure out who you are or have any of those experiences, but it's just a bit of fun to do that, right? You know, those higher levels of consciousness, we're gonna go get into those eventually anyhow, as we are starting to let go more of the old programming and connect to source. And that's really the thing, I think, you know, wouldn't you say so? I mean, ladies, you too as well. Having done this now, having had this lovely experience, it just confirms what you're doing on a daily basis.
Mm-hmm. I was going to say that. I can't say that I didn't learn anything I didn't already know. I do feel like I tapped into a potential, like we have an amazing ability to heal the physical body, but that's something that we don't necessarily know how to do. And I didn't learn how to do it, but it happened for me while I had that connection, or maybe while part of my consciousness was out of the way, my body was able to do that for itself. So that was something I got out of it. But other than that, everything that I saw, in some way, I already knew it. I might have just seen it in a slightly different context.
Yeah, exactly. And that's really beautiful, you know, and so worthwhile, you know, having an experience and experimenting with that, you know, in a responsible way, like you did. You know exactly when to stop, where to put yourself and things like that. So it's beautiful. Great. And what a good timing as well for new moon, right? Because new moon, solar eclipse, and everything. What's going on with you, ladies? We only have ladies today, yes. Because this is the time where we're putting forward, I wouldn't say goals. Goals are a very old way of, you know, saying, but just putting the energy forward that we want to play with the next couple of months. Has anyone done any sort of, I don't know, little bit of writing things down in your diary? What kind of energy would you like to play with in the next couple of months?
I feel like, well, I haven't done as much writing, but some of it was not intentional. It just fell into place because that's how things work when we do what we do. But in this eclipse window between the lunar eclipse and the solar eclipse, I changed jobs. I did that mushroom journey, and I did the grand opening for the healing center. And I think for me, seeing what a pivot point I'm at for where I've been and where I'm going, that I centered those big changes within that eclipse portal.
Beautiful.
Beautiful.
Anyone else has thought about the, or what's been happening to you guys between, as Jane says, between the lunar and now the solar one? I mean, we're obviously right in it, but.
Well, you know, last week I started this this training on the spiritual coaching and caregiving, and drawing today. So for the full moon, my draw was the pilgrimage, and I was like, okay, am I now seriously being called to go on a pilgrimage, or am I just, you know, creating my own pilgrimage? Taking this course now, and I'm like, well, this is my pilgrimage. You know, this is because it is asking me to journal, which you all know is something that I'm like, nah. It asked me to take a step back, to not already be at the end.
Oh, didn't even know you were doing the course, right? Sorry.
Yeah. And we have to follow. It's a quite, because it is a UK vocational training certified course. It is very structured, but it is, and you need to do homework and you need to do exercises, and they need to apply certain protocols. So everything is, it's a very safe place. It's a non-judgmental place. So it's really very interesting. But for me, it's like, you know, sometimes like Martina is like, can we just get on with it? But it's exactly there where my pilgrimage should start. It's like, no, you need to do the step by step. That's where it is. It is not the goal. It is the journey. Today, new moon. What is the card that I pull? The journey card. It says, be aware. It's not the destination. It's the journey. So yeah, I took out another notebook now, and I will try my very best and my very hardest to actually journal step by step. I know it can also only be just one word. I know that, but there is already one word now that came up, and thank you, Jen, for bringing it up. It's the non-resistance. It's like that I should just, you know, drop the resistance of whatever I have with the writing. I have no idea where it's coming from. We will see. We will find out. It's the journey that I'm going to take. So we'll see.
Let me just say one thing that might or might not be useful. Take out the word journey, because the resistance to journey is because it's not a journey. We're not on a journey. There is no journey. There is no space. There is no time. And your soul knows that. So when people start talking about journeys, it's like, no, it's not the journey. Past, the present, and the future is happening at the same time. So just
don't get me wrong.
Oh, sorry, but
sorry,
no, maybe
don't get me wrong on the journey. It for me, the word was, you know, not to look at the destination, you know, because I was already, you know, with a certificate in the hand, which is in 1 year's time. You know, I was already there. I'm like, okay, this is in the bag, you know, and no, this is where I should be reminded with these words, like using journey, that it's not about the destination. I need to get rid of that, you see.
But this is what Jen was actually saying, you know, because there's always like a good question when you sign up on a course. Yeah, it depends how people are. What's the word for that? How they work. So when I sign up on a course, for me it's in the bag. That I don't need to even do the course. I still do it. For me, as soon as I sign up, I don't need the certificate. I never look at the certificate again. You know, that doesn't mean that I will not pull through. But for me, my decision making is I sign up on a course, it's done. Of course I'm going to do it. Otherwise I wouldn't have signed up. Right? But that doesn't mean, and that's why for me, I'll take out the journey because it's not that. And then I go into the present because everything happens in that moment of being. And then I just do every day.
That's for you. Yes.
I've already done it.
Yeah, that's for you. But I'm different.
No, but aren't you like that too? That you already done as soon as you sign up? I might be wrong.
No, this is where my 1,500 souls are just, in battle with each other. It's like the overachiever. The achiever is just jumping up and down. We want to get that. We want to get the star and the heart and the okay and the smile from the trainer,
But that's
you see?
Then it's about the experience. That was your experience.
Which is also the journey then, it's like that. It's the experience. The step by step. It's, it's the experiencing the experience of the experience.
Okay. Cool. I thought I could help with that, but obviously no. Go the journey without the destination.
But I would say for what Cindy's trying to, go ahead, Carl. Was Carl going to say something? Sometimes when you sign up for a course like that, while Martina, you're right. Once you make that conscious commitment to do it, you've already done it, right? But sometimes you still have to sit through it because it's not even necessarily what they say or that you learn something really, really big. Sometimes it is like a sequence of 3 words that the instructor says at the right time that unlocks something.
Exactly.
That opens up something completely new for you. I've had that happen several times.
Yes.
There's one other thing that really I took away from my experience over the weekend with them. As we were getting to know everybody before we took the sacrament and stuff like that, of course, everybody's on different levels. And I don't try to decide where somebody is or who they are or anything like that. I'm very accepting of who somebody is in that moment. I've really mastered that in myself, that whoever somebody is in front of me is perfectly exactly who they're supposed to be at that moment in time in front of me, and I don't question it, and I don't try to make them anything else or give them advice to be anything else. But there were 2 men that were there that were talking to my friend Jenny, and they were honestly trying to be very helpful to her, but they were coming at her from a different level than where she is, and they couldn't understand her perspective because they're just not there yet. And I didn't say anything to change what they were trying to do, but as we were coming back the next day during the integration, everybody doing their shares and stuff like that, what came to me really was, because both of them were talking about, they're very hypersensitive about being gaslighted through the whole experience. And they were talking about that again during the shares. And it dawned on me that it had nothing to do with them. I didn't have any real words with them, but where I've really come to not judge anybody else, I realized that I've finally come to a point where I no longer judge myself, because I've always been very hard on myself and held myself to very, very high expectations. And I felt the freedom in that moment of, for as long as I can remember in the near past, that I don't judge myself anymore, and what a lovely place that is to be. And then as they were talking about, they were dropping hints about somebody in the group gaslighting them overnight, I thought, you know what? I don't accept the judgment of anybody else anymore either. I really don't give a shit what anybody thinks about me. And that was, if I got nothing else out of the experience, that realization was so amazing to me and so freeing, to not care anymore genuinely about what anybody else thinks about me, because it has nothing to do with me or my experience. That's just their hologram that they're living through. And that was a big shift for me. So
Great.
Nothing to do with the medicine.
Beautiful energies around you, sister, right now. It's wonderful to see.
Thank you. Thank you very much. What a beautiful picture you have there, Carl.
Fantastic. Stepping into that sovereignty, next level sovereignty, isn't it?
Yeah.
And sorry, guys, keep talking. I need to take that call quickly.
So we also had another experience at the retreat where which was at the break before we, no, it was already, it was at the end of the retreat, and we went to the Chalice Well spring, where we encountered a lady who was sapping the water, and putting into bottles. And we ended up talking with her. And she actually started engaging with, so she took my, she asked me if she could take my hand. She's a healer. She's a, one of these people that are looking into souls. And she asked me to take my hand, if she could take my hand. And then she looked into my eyes and she was like, "You are a very old soul." And I was like, shivers already, right? Because, okay. And then she came up with the fact that I was, probably like a grandmother. So this because I was holding a lot of space for many people, and she she was, with everything that she was putting forward, it was like there was something that she was hitting in the right spot, so it was really interesting. And now you coming up with the fact, this old soul, and that already. So I'm still, this is something that I also would like for the next, over the course of this, the journey anyways, also maybe to concentrate a little bit more on, is the connection to this old soul, because I also have these things that sometimes I just know things out of the blue, wherever it's coming from. And I just, or like now the connections with the ancient sites, I touch them and I feel them and I feel the energy, and I can, okay, interesting. I'm still at the very beginning of this exploration, but it's already becoming rather powerful for me. So that's another exploration that I would also probably bring in this journey of this spiritual coaching, is that if I can connect to this, then probably at one stage I might be able to also help others, to connect to this in a way, finding their souls connections to whatever it is that they want to like to connect to.
I'm curious to see what Martina would say about this, but like I have spent a lot of time. My nature is very motherly, and I take care of a lot of people. I've always made sure everybody was taken care of, and I teach people all they need to learn for whatever task that we're doing. And I have found in the last maybe year, and it was really just on the drive to work this morning that I could put words to it, but I've pulled so much of my energy back into me, and people have really felt that, and it's really triggered people that they don't feel me holding them up as much. And I would still say that I hold the grandmotherly energy, but instead of me giving it out to everybody, I've really pulled it into myself. And I think the purpose of that is the way, at least I help people going forward, and the way I show people the way is not literally by telling them how to do something. It's by emanating that frequency and being able to hold on that frequency into myself, and that they pick up on that and they can watch how I do things, but I don't have to like write the book and tell them anymore. I just have to be me.
Yeah. I get that, because this is, I think, something that it is about, showing the way instead of, doing the way for them, paving the way in a sense.
And it may not be like that for anybody else, but that's how I could see like the changes in myself this year, because I've had people that I've had, well, I haven't had conflict with them, but they've had conflict with me because they don't feel my energy with them anymore, and they didn't know why. Honestly, I didn't realize that I had even pulled it away until I looked at it. And I don't feel like I owe anybody an apology for pulling my energy back into me, but I I think sometimes I have to reset the energy or the expectation around what that exchange should be.
So let me just add, can I add something to that quickly? Mary, you first.
No, I'm just going to say Jennifer is reflecting a lot of my feelings and intentions this evening, I feel, because everything you're saying, Jennifer, I can resonate with it so much. And when Martina was asking about what we were going to do for, you know, what plans we had for courses or in expansion or energy or whatever your question was, Martina, one of the things I felt was that I was going to do more for me and pull my energy a bit more back into me. I actually do enjoy expanding it out and I do enjoy sharing it, but that's one of the things that I will be looking at as we're going into the autumn and the darker months, which I love too, actually, I have to say.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I was going to do. So it's just, that's all I wanted to say, Martina. So you go ahead with whatever you wanted to say there.
I just want to say something to pulling energy back. All right. As an infinite being, we would be limiting ourselves if we have a healer body by pulling energy back. So let's just look at it from a different perspective, how energy really flows. But the way I would just, and I'm just going to put it forward now and you can say yes or no. But I see what you guys have done, or let's just say about Jen in her journey. You have connected to source completely. That source connection means now that the energy is flowing with the speed of light, electromagnetically in harmony all the way through you. Now, you're not pulling it back. In fact, what you're doing, it's just flowing through you because there's nothing that holds back. So people get the whole thing and they can't deal with it.
There's that too, yeah.
Yeah.
At the end of my journey, Source came down, looked me square in the eyes and said, "You're not getting it. You are God. You are me." Big blue eyes. Like that was the last thing I saw that was like not in the physical room with me. Absolutely amazing.
Yeah, beautiful. So I would suggest not to pull energies back because that's where you have to contract, you limit yourself, you need to stay expanded. But if you know that you're connected to energy and you're just a conduit of light, you're just a conduit of energy, you're just a conduit of life force, it's just coming through. And if people can't hack it when that energy is coming at them, it's the same with us. You're a solar flare walking. Do you know what I mean? Of course when the programs get like activated with them, but every time you try to pull it back, it's going to bite you in the ass.
Well, I haven't done any of it intentionally, but I no longer feel myself in certain places that I felt myself before, and
yeah,
that's what I mean by pulling it back. Like I'm not holding anybody up anymore.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, because you're now source connected. And but that doesn't mean that you can't hold. I just want to say that because it doesn't mean that you're actually now holding everyone up, because you can. Because it's not about, you haven't come here to hold anyone up. You haven't come here as a peacemaker. What if we can just take all this, what we've learned, why we've come here to help other people? Just because we're healers doesn't mean that we've come here to heal. We've come here to live our soul matrix that creates our body. And it's an automatic thing. We didn't come here to breathe. We're breathing because breathing is being, and we've come here because we are being, healing. We are all of that. But we've come here to just have some fun and do what we want to do. And if people can receive our energy that we truly are, then they will be healing themselves. They will be holding them up themselves. And that's the beauty of it. Just don't ever, and I'm not talking about you guys, obviously, but anyone out there, don't limit your energies ever. You think, oh, you're too much, or no, you just be that flow. Have that flow that Jen was talking, or, source connected. Be as much as you can be. There will be people that can't hack it. Yeah, but that's okay. Compassion, forgiveness. And what did we hear before we even came on? Forgiveness is the realization that there's nothing to forgive. So that's great. Fantastic. And that's that space where, yeah, I don't even have to call myself a healer. I don't have to call myself anything because I am just me, whatever that is, right? And that's the beauty of it. And then stick on that timeline. For me, it's like if I looked at it this morning, I said, okay, where everybody talks about Newman, I just want to stick on this timeline now. I want to stay there. I don't want to come off that. I just want to, focus on the things that are joyful for me. I want to do my painting. I want to, start selling the paintings. And just that. And if anyone gets something out of the painting, that's great. That's my new form of feeling now. But the other day, somebody wanted to have a bowing session. Okay, cool. Come have a bowing, So it's all there now. And if somebody wants it, they can have it. And if not, makes no difference to me because I'm sort of electromagnetically balanced. And that's all I need to look at. I'm a being in motion. Am I going too much into creation without expansion? Am I too male without female? That's all I need to do. Come back into that balance, into that harmony.
Leveled.
What?
Yeah.
Leveled.
I can't understand that. Wait.
You leveled.
Level.
Yes, I'm leveled. Yes.
See, I would have just said, I just need to do the things that bring me joy, right? Was it yesterday that you posted it? It's the same colors as the one that you have up behind you, but it's different. As soon as I saw that, my owl painting that I haven't hung up yet, it's in my garage. It showed me where to hang it across from it.
Mm-hmm.
Because the only thing that it told me was that they had a lot to talk about. So I looked on your website, it wasn't posted yet, but I'm going to order a print of that one to talk to my owl painting in my sunroom.
Well, this one, the one.
No, it's the same colors as that one, but it's not that one. It's a different.
All right. I probably need to put it up though. This is the thing. I need people to tell me what they want so I can put it up. Because there's so much I can put up. But anyway, fantastic. Well, and that's the thing. That's energetic buying, selling. Let everything starts talking, isn't it? Everything has consciousness, and everything has, that motion going on, and everything's has a voice, really, if we're just listening.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing for me, in terms of if I look at new moon, I mean, I didn't plan it along those lines, but I have a huge, and that started already after the lunar eclipse, after our Glastonbury trip, that I started clearing, but not from a place of decluttering. It's just one morning I got up and the thing said, okay, I'm done. Let me go. And I'm like, okay. So I started packing them up into boxes, and I will sell these things eventually. I'm having the house repainted, which is a great opportunity to just let it all go, And when I looked, I'm thinking, oh, these are my little bits and pieces, that I've been finding and things like that. And it's like, no, I'm not going to even put that back. There's this expansive energy there. And I see if I can keep it that way. Huge expansive energy.
Mm-hmm. It might eventually be filled up again, because that is what I experienced in this house, where I left many things open. Why? Because I have a huge view outside, and it's a wide space, and I wanted to keep it, open. And yet I have noticed that over the course, eventually you start, because we are these finders and pack rats and what have you not, we just we will accumulate again because it's things that are speaking to us, right? But it's more in because those are the companions for that phase, and then at one stage you just clear them out probably again. But this is because I'm the one that is moving a lot, you know, every 2 or 4 years I'm moving and I'm packing and I'm doing. So it's something that I have just noticed. A few things that will remain, you know, because they still are valuable and interesting. Other that are just new and they will maybe remain or not. So, but it's always this wonderful opportunity of just, okay, I'm letting you go, or you're going to go new home, or what have you not. You know, it's great.
I mean, the interesting thing is I don't look at it as a decluttering because I never felt cluttered. Everything had a purpose. Everything had a voice. But you know, I've been listening to Walter Russell of late, and I got that open here. So he says all form is constantly in transit between appearance and disappearance. We're beings of motion, like I mentioned earlier, and if everything is in transit continuously, then I cannot have things here all the time. It makes no sense anymore. You know what I mean? It's like, I think, because for me, everything is, you know, as soon as I have an awareness, I understand something, I have an awareness, and all of a sudden everything else is blown out. There's no emotional attachment to any of it because all of a sudden, you know, all form is in constant transit between, and not that I haven't heard that before, but maybe it's a different words that he said it, you know, and things like that. And it's like, yeah, it's got to go. And again, there's no why not? No, it's just that's it. Chuck, 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 chuck. So it's quite interesting, you know, how when we have an understanding, and I think that's what he's very big on the thinking. He said, you know, that all thinking is universal thinking. Because of the universal mind, we are connected to the universal mind. There is not your mind or Jane's mind or Mary's or Sandrine's mind. We're all tapping into the same mind. And thinking is the creation. We're creating through thinking. But then, of course, we mustn't forget that, you know, energy is motion in opposition, which means there is no creation without expansion. There's no inhalation without exhalation. And this, I think, is sometimes where we go to male-oriented creation, not actually understanding that there's no such thing, because that would just be one part of the harmony, the balance. There's no such thing. Everything has an opposition. And the opposition is equally and simultaneous and important. And one can't be without the other. So, you know, and as I'm going more into the depth of the hologram and how all of these, you know, all this science of consciousness that nobody talks about really. I mean, obviously, Walter Russell talked about it, God knows when, 1920 or something, I don't even know when he was doing this. There are some people out there who are just so much ahead of their time. You know, like Rudolf Steiner and all of these people, Blavatsky and everything. But I think this is my, talking about journey, this is my interest at the moment, where I'm really going into that kind of detail. And it seems to be blowing everything out of proportion, everything. Nothing is significant anymore. Not in a bad way, you know, I mean, that clearing of everything that's significant I now destroy and uncreate, I've done in my Access days. Because this guy was ahead of his time as well. Because everything needs to be, and this is interesting from the female-male perspective, you know. Male is creation, whereas female is destruction. And that's why we have male and female within ourselves. Like male is action, whereas female is reaction. Male is alkaline, while female is acidic. And that's Walter Russell looking at the elements and talking about it. And I'm like, this is so interesting, you know, because I looked at male, female, you know, forever, but I never looked at acidity as, you know, as female. It doesn't really sound very good for the females, but then again, you gotta look at it from a correct source perspective, you know, positive male, negative female, right? Yeah. What else is it? Magnetic, we know, female, electric, male. Female is centrifugal, moving away from the center. And male is centripetal, moving towards the center. And when I looked at that, girls, so because you like living in all these different dimensions at the same time and feeling grounded in that 0 point energy, was that when I say moving away from the center is female, moving towards the center is centripetal male. Does that work for your journey?
Can't say that I would look at that in those words.
No. But that's why, you know, when that came up, I thought, first of all, I needed to look up what centrifugal means, you know. But then when I look at now, my journey has become more feminine. Because my strength has always been in the feminine, but I had bastardized my feminine because I had to make it work. I had to be the create. And I did a good job in that, but my strength is really in the feminine. That's why it's interesting to look at that. So when I then see female is actually moving away from the center, that makes a lot of sense to me. The way I can perceive myself in all these different dimensions and work on this sort of detached and yet connected, you know, almost like for me, whilst I fully appreciate my body and can enjoy it and blissfully, I certainly live more, I wouldn't say detached, but I get more excited on the expansive level, on that moving away from that center. But then again, that's the juxtaposition, isn't it? Because I thought, oh, you know, I'm ungrounded. But actually, the more chaos, like Mary, we were talking about this, I think two shows ago, the more chaos there is, the more grounded I become.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so all the psychedelic, you know, experience we were just talking about, that's expansive as hell, source connected, and yet it brings me into the body. There's something that the more okay, you see, this is an interesting one. I don't want to just keep talking, but let me just say this, because I do remember that from the Access days. It's like the more expanded you are, the more your soul can come in, project into the holographic, you know, illusion. And this is why it's so important not to, what's the word, manipulate your energies for other people. No, just be that expanded and don't think you're taking off. No, you're not. And that was one of the things I remember when I was doing the entity facilitator, when we were talking about entity clearings. You know, there was first, how do you feel in your body in the beginning? And then we cleared the entities. And then the question was, how do you feel now? You got more space or less space? And it was like, oh, so much space by letting go of those limitations, the limiting soul shards, or the energies that we picked up from other people. Yeah. Okay, that's enough. So, yeah.
No, it's hitting a very interesting movie in my head, and I'm actually at Neanderthals currently, but okay. No, but this which is probably also why it makes a lot of sense for women to be centrifugal, because we are the more rooted and more grounded already through our, well, okay, stop me when I'm going, you know, off the beaten path too far.
I think we're already there. We're all on the
no, but I mean in the sense that For me, okay, so as a woman, I'm speaking from my perspective, as a woman, and with a lot of male, energies as well. And not only because of that, but also because of naturally, because I have lacking a few female hormones in a sense. Because, okay, it makes a lot of sense that women are centrifugal, because we are grounded through our root chakras. We are grounded through to the earth in a sense. So we can expand and we can go out, which is also our propensity to be multitasking and multiversing, whatever, we are able to cope with that in a good sense. So in the male perspective, being more, bringing things in, yes, why not? Because they were the ones that went out, and when they bring something back, then they bring it back in a sense that either they created it or they hunted it, bringing it back to the center, because that is where they have been pulled in again. So that they are the ones who are being, pulled into the center, and then the women is the one that is holding the space for the outside.
Well, I mean, that's why I asked the question, because moving away from the center, what does it mean? I haven't really looked at that. For me, it's more, what is it? It's like not being so focused, because the male is like focus, 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 right?
Which is, being pulled into the center again, in a sense, yes.
I mean, that's the way I can perceive it now, but maybe there's another way of looking at what centrifugal.
But if you look at the physics of the centrifugal, there remains, the spin that you make, there is a center, and it remains. There is one particle that remains, so that everything can spin around it, which is why it's called centrifugal. Centrifugal, the fugal is the fugit, is where it goes out.
Right.
So I would.
Sorry, I was just going to add a little piece to that, and it was about that expansion that you've been talking about, and going back to the center. And as I was listening to it, and I was thinking about the conversation, yes, that we did have Martina on chaos there, whenever that was, and how I experienced that. And I experienced that as being really, really grounded and centered. And that is how I experience expansion. This is going to sound completely contradictory, but it does make sense to me. The more I go out, the more I expand, the more centered I am.
Right.
Now that I know that sounds contradictory, but that is how it is. So I can't ever say that the more I go out and the more I'm expanded, the less centered, or I lose my center. No, it actually gets me right with my center. And I can feel really centered, and I really am being who I am. And again, it's like the journey. The journey makes so much sense to me, because that was what I experienced in the journey. The further out that I was going, the more, that's why I was saying about, it's like a big exhale. It's like, gosh, it's like just that coming together of all the parts, or some of them at least, maybe not all of them. There's that, and there's that sense of, with the expansion and the center being all one place for me.
It makes perfect sense. Yeah.
Right.
Because we're not being told. Let me just say that one thing, because I've got it right here. Yeah. Expansion is radiation. How this works, expansion radiation is discharging of human potential.
And that's all the words that I was saying when I was saying that I was like pulling my energy back here, so that I can radiate it out instead of having it in tendrils. I don't have to have it as octopus arms. When I've said this since I first came to know my energy 10 years ago. My energy spins counterclockwise, and sometimes I feel like a little tornado if I have more of me in my body. But when I feel that energy spin, I also take one step out of it, if that makes sense. And I hadn't heard your words until today about that being off center, but that is what I do. My energy spins around me and then I take one step out of it. And the only words that I've put to describe it before is like gathering my skirts. Like if you think about like spinning and your skirt spinning around you and then like coming back in at your feet as you go to take another step, like that's how I would picture it. Even your painting behind you, Martina, reminds me of that, how it just spins, but then like I naturally take a step outside of that.
So let me ask you, what would happen if you stay in the spin without stepping outside?
Nothing.
So what's for what purpose do you step out of it?
It's my natural way of being and my natural movement.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not uncomfortable to stay in the middle of it.
Yeah. Because I'm just wondering what would be possible for you if you'd stay in it that you haven't considered yet, a possibility. Because if that expansion is really radiation, and radiation is a discharge of human potential, then this is like, are we ready for that expansion? Are you ready for that radiation? And radiation's got the word in it, yeah? Radiation, oh, I can't be getting close to radiation, I'll get radiated, right? And literally, that's what we do. But this is what we've come here for. And this is not a time. This is not a time, because what we're doing is that as well. This is where we become the catalysts of change by just walking by somebody.
Yep.
This is also where we just disengage the old algorithm. We become the energy of algorithm interrupt. And yes, when you get on a plane, you might not want to do that. But other than that, just all those binary codes that have been keeping the hologram, our gene manipulation, because it's a hologram, and now we can't, we've gone far beyond, oh, not a hologram, not an illusion. Well, we know all that. You flesh and blood, we know all that because of the crystal, blah, blah, blah. It's all physics, yeah, science of consciousness, but you're still a hologram. So instead of fucking around with, should I eat this or should I eat this, or can I have this smoke or this, go straight back to the hologram. What I did today, Emma was phoning me and she had some period pains and blah, blah, blah. And I was sitting in my studio and I was looking at the painting, which is the Trinity, right? Which I call Birthing the Trinity. And I said, as I was looking at the painting, I said, you know what? Stop talking about what to eat, what to do. I said, look at this painting and go straight right in the middle, in the void space, right? Between the three, between the male, the female, and the, between the electromagnetics and everything. Go straight back to the very beginning of the hologram. And then what happened as she did that, she's very fast. As she did that, I said, well, this is like a spider web. You're the fly right in there. You're connected to every single female consciousness, this lifetime, other lifetimes, every bloody time stream, timeline that ever had an issue with their menses, right? With their menstruation. I said, get out. I said, can you get out of that? Can you disconnect? And she said, yeah, I can do that. I said, okay, well, get out. So she came out of that spider web, and then her what do you call it? Flügel. What's a flügel? Flügel.
Yeah.
No, the flying things.
Yeah, the wings.
The wings. The wings were slightly not damaged, but kind of. And I said, okay, we'll get some other flies in now to come and help you stretch out and clean off everything. And she did. And I said, so what's happening? What's happening to you now? And she said, oh my God, I just turned into a butterfly. And I said, okay, cool. Off you go. And she said, oh my God, Mama, my leg pains have changed. I said, no shit. You know what I mean? I'm not saying this was the cure for everything now, but this is how we can play. And this leads us back to what we've been saying over the last couple of months now. Imagination is key. Knowledge doesn't get it.
And taking the other point of view and expansion, you know, not being, you know, pulled into what this whole but, you know, taking a deep breath and okay, and maybe it gets better.
And once we have gone through the expansion, once we have had this conscious source connection, we can't go back. We can't go back. This is going to backfire if we want to play small again. We jumped out of the box.
Yeah.
If we want to jump back into the box because our friends are still in the box or whatever, you know, we're going to physically hurt ourselves. You cannot make awareness unknown. It doesn't work. Because awareness is change. I mean, you can, you know, turn it around, but then you will get physically sick. And then the last thing we think of, oh my God, have I, you know, sort of reduced my awareness again? Or am I actually not living, you know, the level of awareness that I am? Because no, we go, oh, I shouldn't have eaten this. So it's getting more and more interesting now. And as we are expanding, this is why awareness is not for pussies. We've talked about this before. It comes with huge responsibility, not necessarily to others, but to ourselves. And then of course, if we are not healthy, if we are not well, then others are not going to be well either.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also, I think the other thing I'd like to talk about, since that's just come in, or all of us to talk about, I've talked about far too much today. Astral world. What's that? There's so much happening at the moment because of the veils gone. Not for pussies, yeah. Said that before, but it's really true. But there is so much happening in the astral world at the moment. And we're becoming more, it's always been happening, but everything that chaos that's being created here in the solid world is obviously impacting the astral world at the same time. We can't just look at the astral world impacting us because we're all one, it's all connected. There's a lot of stuff happening there right now, and a lot of that is sometimes coming through in dreams, but not necessarily. So instead of just going to what have I not eaten, go, okay, what's happening in the astral world that is impacting me that I haven't acknowledged yet, especially for peeps like us, you know, have I limited the space, the energetic space, so that my soul actually can't project in and feels like cramped in? And this is the old exercise we talked about before, just expand yourself out. As soon as you expand yourself out, problems disappear. Because the human potential gets expanded. All of a sudden, you step back into infinite possibility and you actually become one with source. Okay, girls. I was wondering what we got. Let me see what's happening. I was wondering about where I can get an ayahuasca medicine place. I don't know. That's Herminia in New York. I don't know, but I'm sure
She probably has to go to
very deep experience.
places like the states where they allow that. Maybe in Colorado or.
To be honest, Herminia, ayahuasca is probably the worst one to start off with.
Yeah, I think so too.
Just from my experience, I wouldn't even do it again. Done it twice now, but I never really enjoyed that experience that much. That's just mine. But you know, if you have, like Jen did, some mushrooms, I mean, that's something you can do by yourself. God knows where you get those from. I wouldn't know. And just microdose and take very, very little and be on your own. And there's not much, you know, you can do harm. You're not doing yourself any harm. Is she still here? No, she's not here. Okay, well, if you watch this again, if you watch the replay, and also like Jen said, it's like, if I'd be doing mushrooms, I'd be doing them on my own. Because everything else is just,
Yeah.
and you know,
Because we had, yeah.
you have enough tools and a level of mastery that you can deal with whatever comes up.
Because we are just picking up from everybody else, you know, around us. That's why.
Yeah. And that's being said now, not for everyone out there, that's for people who have reached a certain level of mastery and know, you know, what, even if you've never done any psychedelics. And again, you don't have to, you can just do a breathing exercise consistently and work like that and see what happens. And then of course, you know, there's other peeps like me. I mean, I have a psychedelic experience when I listen to Walter Russell, and he says about radiation is discharge of human potential. I'm like, wow, I have no idea what it means, but hey, I feel it. And now having this conversation, of course, with people, and Mary just saying what she's saying makes a lot of sense. Because she actually has the experience, which I have too, but of course I didn't put those two together. And that's why we're having these chats, because everyone has a piece of the puzzle, right? Carolina, you talk.
I do.
Yes.
Well, what's coming up for me right now is I'm just sitting quietly, listening, taking everything in, and I'm feeling very grateful for the way that you all have held the space for me with the Earth Nouveau. Since I came in 2021, as I was here, I'm hearing everyone here, I can see myself in 2021 and now, and feel so fucking good about how far I've come. And I don't think I would have experienced it in the same way as I am living it right now in me. So that's what's coming up for me right now.
Beautiful.
Yeah, the way that you have been a beautiful mirror.
Beautiful. And then, of course, you've done amazing work with the fire, right? With your fire people. I don't have the right words for that, but you've done
My fire people are the Kogi, the indigenous Kogi from Colombia.
Yeah.
Yes, and they are ancestral elders. They're shamans of the light. They're not that many. There are many shamans, but not that many shamans of the light that can connect directly with the monad. The indigenous Kogi, there are some elders there that have a direct connection with the monad, with the mother monad. So it is incredibly special and powerful for this to be my birthplace and to have agreed to work with them in this lifetime. I'm really glad I jumped on that.
Yeah. But again, it shows the caliber of your soul, that you resonated with them, because that's pretty much what we are talking about now, is going straight to the source. If they're working with the light, right? Because they've just gone, you know, beyond everything, straight to the source. And that is, we know this is a consciousness revolution, evolution. It's all about perception of our awareness. We can all work with the light, but if the light means absolutely nothing to you, then you're just going to use it and say, oh, well, you're one of those light workers. No, that's not what we're talking about at all. We're not, when we say think in light, it's an understanding of the hologram. It's an understanding of source, the very, very beginning. Light, color, prana, sound, you know, rhythm, inhalation, exhalation, cosmic heart, that kind of thing. And again, there is an education behind that. But you don't have to understand it first. You just have to resonate it. And, you know, I think it was also Russell was saying, like, the soul is the matrix of your body. And well, let me say, because I've written this down, I want to say this in his words because it's so beautiful. It's so simple, you know. Where's that? The soul is the matrix of the body, so I got that right. It contains a complete record of every action and reaction of thinking man. Because he's big on thinking, because without thinking, there's no creation, because we're all connected to the mind, because mind is universal, you know. And of course, that works for me. It always has worked for me. And that doesn't take the heart away. I know, but lots of people think heart, heart, heart. We need the heart to feel it, to have the experience. But the creation comes through the thoughts, to put the ideas together, use intelligence. Intelligence and knowledge is a very different thing. So the soul is a matrix of the body. I mean, we all have a body. If we look at each other, yeah, you're seeing the soul. I have curly hair because of my soul's journey. God knows what that means. But, you know, you can interpret that a certain way. Oh, Mary, obviously being a redhead, you know, living up there in Ireland. Or, you know, why have I, you know, fat little fingers? I don't know. That's my soul's journey, you know, because obviously I've always been working hard with, I don't know, that kind of thing, always connecting, you know, and things like that. So it's like our bodies are a product of the projection of the soul into the hologram. That's how the hologram gets created. And once we're leaving those bodies behind, and I've heard that many times, we're going to come back looking slightly the same. So, you know, this is really amazing to think of it from that perspective, right? And then it contains complete record of every action and reaction. So we're all Akashic records of our souls. So whatever we are learning, we're not really learning, we're just remembering, right? We're remembering, and we talked about this years ago, that it's a remembrance of all our experiences, of all our, and he calls it what? Every action and reaction of the thinking man. Action, male, female, electromagnetic, because that's what energy is. We are energy in motion, simultaneously opposite. Action, reaction, electric, magnetic. It's you know, it's all there. Matter is the storehouse of energy. Well, we know that, right? The record of states of motion. So forget about emotions and feelings, and that's all personality, low frequency, blah, blah. I'm just saying, not taking it away, yeah, for whoever. But think bigger. Think of those states of motion. I don't know, it makes me so happy because all of a sudden I'm like, yes. In my world, that makes so much sense. I just couldn't come up with it myself. But when he said it, I'm like, okay, let me write this down. I like this. Matter is the storehouse of energy, which we know. But also, I was looking for the difference between consciousness and energy. Remember, Sandrine, we were talking about this. Because, you know, I think it is Jeffrey Hopper, you know, the Adamos channel. He says, energy is not consciousness. And I never made a distinction between energy and consciousness. I thought it was the same. But actually, if you look at it, science of consciousness or proper physics, energy is not consciousness, because energy is motion in opposition. It's electric, it's magnetic. But consciousness,
yeah, which is one of the reasons why you can also store energy, you know, why you have batteries, because that is what you can do. But consciousness, you cannot really store it anywhere. You cannot grasp it, you cannot fill it in or up, or, you know, put it in a bottle or whatever. I mean, you can breathe into an empty vessel and put a lid on it, yes, but then you have breath in there. Do you have consciousness in there?
So what is consciousness? Is it the soul matrix? Is it the soul's geometry that is injecting into the hologram? What is consciousness? compared to energy? I mean,
I'm gonna leave you on that note, and I will maybe listen to that because I need to prepare for my.
Interesting.
That's consciousness.
Thanks for being here.
Bye, girls. See you next week.
Of course. What time is it? Gosh, I've been talking like a machine gun. Oh God. Look, I'm all like excited. Okay, so let's look out for that. I want a nice definition between energy. What is energy and what is consciousness? What's the difference? Consciousness, perception, levels of awareness, sacred geometry. Or is energy sacred geometry? I don't know. And I know we don't even need to know, but for some reason I'd like to know.
Energy is not sacred geometry, but sacred geometry is energy, is how I would say that.
Okay.
Sacred geometry. Go ahead.
This is very simple, but visually I'm seeing consciousness as everything and energy is within the consciousness. But consciousness is everything.
And I would say too that consciousness as we know it comes through the distortion of the plane that we're in also.
Through the manipulated light matrix, yeah. And the gene manipulation. So
sometimes it's easier to maybe get a sense of what consciousness is if we could get a sense of what consciousness isn't. I know we had a show about this, Martina, years ago. I remember us having a show on consciousness. And we looked up the definition of consciousness, I think, somewhere as well. But I actually can't remember. Yeah. And I don't know how to define consciousness. But I'm trying to think of what it's not. So I thought that might give me a sense of what it is. I do think sacred geometry sort of embodies energy, you know, like a triangle has a different energy to the square, to the rectangle, to the circle. I think that it embodies a certain, you know, outlines a kind of an energy pattern or something. But I know that's not consciousness. I don't know what I don't know how to describe consciousness really.
Consciousness, capital C.
Yeah. Consciousness. What makes us conscious? It's connected to awareness. Consciousness.
It is.
Awareness, yeah. Level of perception. I think it's the way we are perceiving light, life force, prana, all of that. But through the hologram, through the matrix, through the soul identity, but still there's something is missing. I mean, I used to use the Access definition. It includes everything and judges nothing. But I mean, that's not enough anymore. It's source. It's a building block. I think it's the building block of the hologram.
Right now I'm seeing visuals as my answer is visuals and I can't speak them.
Yeah, explain. Tell us visually. That's good. What do you see?
Geometry in different dimensions and different volume movements. But I wish I could say more, but that's what sparked that question in me.
Good. Well, that's why we're asking questions. We don't need the answers. Let's just see what comes up. Jen, are you falling asleep on us? You're so relaxed. I can just check. Sorry, bandit.
I'm very comfortable in my physical body now. I have been very relaxed.
I love it. I love it.
I'm going to have to go, Martina. Sorry, I stayed on longer than I could, but I have to go.
Well, we can call it, if we're done, we're done. Yeah. I think we covered quite a bit. Thanks for coming, Mary.
Not at all. It was great talking to everybody. I'll see you next week.
Yes, nice to see you, Mary.
Yeah, okay. Is that Herminia? No?
Herminia's gone. We lost her.
Oh, no, I don't know who said that there. She just sounded like Armenia. Anyway, we see you next week, hopefully. Okay.
Yes. Good. Well, if anyone has anything that who he okay, hold on a second. Who wants to add something to our conversation today?
I would love to know what you guys are doing. Eclipse is happening like within the next few minutes, I think. Yeah, I think the eclipse is. I'm just wondering what you're doing during the actual eclipse.
I'm connecting with you guys. That's enough for me.
Wonderful.
Yeah, maybe I have a glass of wine. I've done enough work. Just enjoying my body. What are you doing, Jen?
I'm going to go sit in the sun before I have to go back out to a project site. But I'm going to go sit in the sun and just be in the moment. I'm not going to do anything, just enjoy the moment.
Me too. I'm really looking forward to it. Really looking forward to the energies have been so incredible in the past few weeks. Wow.
Will you be able to see it, Carl, from where you are?
No, not visually. It will be more. My friends in Argentina are all prepped up to see it, but I'm too north.
I've seen 2 full solar eclipses now in my life, all within the last 7 years, and it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing to witness. But you know, when I went to Kentucky in April to see the solar eclipse this year, I didn't do any spiritual intentions or anything like that around it. I really was just trying to be very present. But during totality, I kind of sank back for just a minute and I was like, what am I doing here? And they said, you're just there to be human. Just be human. And that was a very similar message to how I felt after my journey. Like, just enjoy being a human. So I'm going to enjoy the pleasures of being a human.
Absolutely. The transgalactic human that we truly be. Let's all enjoy that. And that's a beautiful ending for our session today. So enjoy your eclipses, enjoy being human, because you are so much more than you've ever been told that you are.
Yes. Aho.
Guys, thank you so much. And I'll see you next week.
Love y'all.
Bye.